Chosen one, what if I told you that the greatest weapon in history isn't a sword, a bomb, or an empire's army, but something hidden inside of you? Something so divine, so ancient, so powerful that even heaven itself has concealed it until the appointed time. A force woven into your bones, baptized into your breath, encoded into the rhythm of your heartbeat long before you ever thought to call it yours. It is older than the maps men draw, quieter than the loudest trumpet, and yet when it awakens, it will move like thunder across the halls of human history. But listen carefully, because unlocking this weapon comes at a price. There is a cost line written into the margins of destiny. Awareness demands accountability, revelation demands surrender, and power demands humility. Once you see it, once you feel it, once you activate it, there is no return to the smaller life. The small comforts, the safe choices, the easy exits, they will no longer satisfy. The world will assume you are the same person you were yesterday, but you will know the truth. You have been remade from the inside out. Your yes to this awakening redraws the borders of what is possible for you and for those who carry your name. The enemy knows what you're carrying. That is why the path has not been smooth. That is why the nights felt longer, the doors slammed for a season. The people you trusted turn away at critical moments. Those were not mere coincidences or petty misfortunes. They were strategic attempts to keep you small, deliberate diversions designed to dull your senses and bury the weapon beneath layers of doubt, shame, and distraction. They sent storms to teach you to look down, lies to teach you to look away, and delays to teach you to accept lesser things. But every tactic of the dark only served to strengthen the arm that will one day wield this power for good, for restoration, for deliverance, for the tearing down of strongholds. Yet heaven, oh, heaven, has interrupted your life in this very moment. Not with clamor, but with a whisper, not by force, but by a sudden clarity that arrives like dawn after the longest night. It is an interruption that rearranges calendars and resets the counting of years in your soul. The interruption comes as a soft hand on the shoulder of your heart, a nudge so holy it shakes the dust off old wounds and opens your eyes to a horizon you thought unreachable. It is a sacred disturbance, a divine rearrangement of everything you were beginning to accept as permanent. And you're not here by accident. This is not the random scrolling of a weary eye. This is not the curiosity of a passing moment. Providence has threaded this exact instant, this exact word, into the fabric of your life. There are no misplaced encounters in the theater of heaven. Every stop, every setback, every sorrow, every strange closed door has been counted, weighed, and used by an invisible hand to position you for this opening. You are standing at a threshold that was prepared before your parents' ever sowed a seed. Generations that you do not yet know have been laboring toward the moment where your weapon would be birthed into its fullness. Can you feel it? This pressure under your ribs, like a bell about to be rung? Can you sense that the long silence is ending and that the sound waiting inside you is not merely your own voice, but the echo of heaven itself? The weapon is not something you lift. It is something that lifts you. It is not brute force, but a refined authority that bends circumstances, aligns allies, and unlocks doors that mere human strategy could never open. It moves with the precision of a key and the inevitability of dawn. Quiet at first, then undeniable. Still, there will be weight. To wield what you carry demands discipline. A heart that walks in truth, even when all around you chooses fiction, hands that are clean because the work is holy, and eyes that refuse the cheap glint of applause. There will be nights when you are tempted to trade the call for comfort, to hush the whisper for the hush of sleep. But remember, every great anointing in Scripture metatesting. Every mantle of power was preceded by a season that clarified the vessel. The refining fires do not indicate abandonment. They indicate preparation. What is being formed in the hidden places is being hardened for the thrust, the exact pressure required, so that when you are released, you will not crack under the strain, but will pierce through every opposition. And make no mistake, revealing this weapon will provoke reaction. There will be those who do not understand your sudden rise, who sense an upset to their carefully balanced world, and will lash out in fear. There will be familiar faces who cannot bear to see you change, and will try to tether you back to the predictable. But let this be your shield. The same heavens that placed this weapon in you will preserve your pathway as you steward what you have been given. Heaven is not careless with its treasures. The same hand that plants also watches. The same voice that calls also guards. So stand still for a moment and name the truth that surfaces when pretense falls away. You were made on purpose for purpose. You are not the result of random timelines or the sum of your wounds. There is an intelligence in you older than the ages, a cunning finer than human cunning, a love deeper than anyone has declared. This is not vanity. This is identity. This is the recognition that your life is a chapter in a story that the cosmos has been murmuring since the very beginning. Now, hear this. The awakening begins with surrender and is sustained by obedience. Surrender is the portal. Obedience is the pathway. Bend the knee to the voice that calls, not in fear, but in friendship. Let obedience reconfigure the habits that have been comfortable but unfruitful. Choose now to align your daily steps with the frequency of heaven. Tune your heart like a harp to the melody only the chosen can hear. Small, consistent faithfulness will sharpen this weapon into its rightful shape. Chosen one, if you are trembling at this word, know it is holy trembling. If your eyes fill with tears, let them wash what doubt has seared. If your mouth forms a prayer you have not yet said aloud, speak it now. Lord, reveal. Lord, refine. Lord, release. Speak it with courage. Speak it with community. Speak it in the secret rooms where heaven molds destiny. And when you speak, listen, because the response will come in whispers, in nudges, in open doors, and in an alignment of circumstance that will make no sense to the world, but will make perfect sense to the one who knows. This is your invitation into the epic. This is not a call to spectacle, but to stewardship. It is a summons to carry a burden that will become a blessing, not only for you, but for those who follow in your footsteps. The weapon inside you is more than an instrument of change. It is a living legacy. When it awakens, history itself will have to bend and account for the movement of your obedience. So rise, chosen one. Receive the interruption. Lay down the smallness that clouded your sight. Step into the atmosphere of revelation and let the weapon within you awake, not for personal gain, but for the assault against darkness, for the healing of nations, for the restoration of what was stolen. The hour is now. The hand is stretched out. The whisper has become a clarion call. Will you take it? Will you carry it? Will you live as one who knows that heaven has not merely visited? You have been commissioned. And if your spirit says yes, then answer with action. Declare it with your life. Speak it with your footsteps. Walk into the story that the heavens have been waiting to narrate through you. There is no going back now. Have you ever felt it? That strange, deep sensation in your spirit, like something is rising within you, something greater than yourself, something that refuses to be silenced. That is the weapon, not a blade forged by human hands, not a machine, not a slogan or an army, but a presence, a tension, a divine pressure that insists on becoming. It moves beneath the surface of ordinary feelings, beneath the everyday chatter of the mind. It is the low hum in the bones when God is near. It is the quiet authority that will not bow to fear or convenience. It is the secret architecture of destiny, chiseled into your spirit before you ever knew your name. It is not fleshly. It is not carnal. It is not of this world. It is divine. This weapon is not measured by muscle or metals. It is measured by obedience, by a heart that has been softened by sorrow and sharpened by faithful smallness. It is shaped in loneliness and refined by testing. It grows in places where comfort dies, in the nights when prayer was the only work you could do, in the seasons when you chose to stand and not to compromise, in the quiet mornings when you aligned your breath with heaven instead of the headlines. Scripture says in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 4, "The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds." Those are not cute words to quote. They're a divine strategy. Your weapon is a heavenly instrument designed to dismantle systems of oppression, to uproot lies that have nested in families and nations, to call down justice where corruption has taken root. It is surgical, not crude, precise, not merely powerful. It disassembles strongholds from within by exposing truth, by releasing mercy, and by aligning hearts with heaven's geometry. The weapon within you is not human strength, but heaven's blueprint written into your very soul. Imagine blueprints hidden inside a child that, when revealed, cause entire cities of despair to rebuild into sanctuaries of hope. Imagine a map embedded in your DNA that, when read by faith, unfolds highways of provision and bridges of reconciliation. This weapon carries intelligence. It carries strategy. It carries a moral clarity that the world cannot manufacture. Like David standing before Goliath with only a sling. Like Moses standing before the Red Sea with only a staff. Like Esther standing before the king with nothing but courage and favor. These are not examples of accidental victories. They are rehearsals for a deeper pattern. Heaven often uses what the world calls weak and foolish to demonstrate that the victory is not of human origin. David had one stone and a story of shepherding. The world saw a boy, the heavens saw code. Moses had a staff and a promise. Pharaoh saw a fugitive. God saw an instrument of deliverance. Esther had a crown of unseen purpose and a risky yes. The world saw a convenient queen. God saw a catalyst to rescue a people. The world saw weakness, but heaven saw a weapon. Hear me. The things people mocked in your life, the quietness, the delays, the seasons of seeming obscurity are the very places where this weapon was honed. The ridicule you endured was not to annihilate you, but to anneal you, to make the steel of your spirit resilient. The betrayals you couldn't understand were not meaningless. They were calibrations that refined your discernment. The closed doors were not punishments. They were redirections so that when the appointed portal opened, you would walk through with a purpose-charged authority. This weapon operates on a different axis than human ambition. It is activated by surrender, fed by holiness, and governed by wisdom. It will not serve your ego. It will subvert it. It will not churn for fame. It will build for legacy. The more you chase it for applause, the less functional it becomes. The more you steward it in secret, the more potent it grows in public. Listen to how it works. First, a whisper, an adjustment in your desires. Then a refinement, choices that remove discordant notes from your life. Next, alignment, relationships, resources, and even seasons begin to synchronize inexplicably. Finally, release, a moment when heaven lifts its hand and what was previously hidden becomes manifest. The timeline is surgical. The manifestation is sudden. Often, the one who has walked unnoticed for years steps into the light, and the world wonders how this could have happened so fast. The answer is always the same. It was preparation, not luck. This weapon also carries a moral gravity. It is not neutral. Its use binds you to a standard. It will call you to stand for truth when compromise would have been easier. It will call you to love when vengeance looks justified. It will break the comfortable stories you tell yourself and ask for a higher loyalty to heaven's agenda over your own short-term gain. That is the price: alignment before activation, character before capacity, humility before honor. Do not be surprised when resistance intensifies as you near activation. Darkness recognizes its architects and grows restless. The closer you come to the unlocking, the more the adversary will flood your mind with imaginations, throw familiar faces into confusion, and engineer circumstances meant to make you doubt. This is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you are approaching the threshold. Hold your position. Refuse the noise. Guard your peace. Continue in obedience. And understand this: the weapon's power is relational. It flows through intimacy with the Father. It is not gained through rote rituals or loud declarations. It is cultivated in stillness, in listening, in the sacred seasons where you allow holy trimming to occur. Like a vine that must be pruned to bear fruit, your life will be pared of excess so that the sap of heaven can run more clearly through you. When it moves, it will not always look like conquest. Sometimes it will look like forgiveness given where none is deserved. Sometimes it will look like a quiet word that redirects a tyrant. Sometimes it will look like a healed child or a restored home or a truth spoken in private that shifts the course of a nation. Do not equate visibility with validity. The most consequential movements of history are often invisible at first, tiny acts of faith that mature into tidal shifts. And here is a practical truth: steward what you carry. Speak less about what you are becoming than you do about what you are serving. Invest in disciplines that sharpen the instrument, prayer that listens as much as it speaks, study that forms conviction, community that keeps you honest, and service that humbles you. Protect your mind from cheap narratives and your heart from the toxicity of comparison. The weapon is tender in the right hands and lethal in the wrong ones. Finally, let faith answer fear. When your inner witness affirms the stirrings in your spirit, respond with courage. When doubt screams louder than conviction, choose the small step of faithful obedience. When the world demands proof before it will honor you, remember the pattern of heaven. God often honors the one who dares first, even when the many stand back. So feel it, name it, tend it, use it for the purposes of heaven. Allow this weapon to wake, not for personal aggrandizement, but for the redemption of what has been broken, for the liberation of what has been bound, for the illumination of what has been dark. The world thought weakness. Heaven has always been planning an unveiling. Rise, chosen one. Your weapon waits. Think of Samson. His strength was never just in his muscles. It was not merely in the braids of his hair, nor in the image of a warrior that men feared. His strength was covenant. His true weapon was obedience to the vow spoken over him before his birth. Judges 15 verse 18 reminds us that his victories were tied not to flesh, but to alignment with God. When he honored the covenant, entire armies fell at his feet. None of these figures were armed with what the world celebrates. Samson's weapon was covenant. Abraham's weapon was friendship. Joseph's weapon was endurance. Every chosen vessel carried a hidden weapon, concealed until the appointed time. Moses was raised in Pharaoh's house, but carried a stammering tongue. The world saw weakness, but heaven saw a mouthpiece for liberation. David was dismissed as a shepherd boy. The world saw insignificance, but heaven saw a warrior king. Esther was an orphan turned queen. The world saw fragility, but heaven saw deliverance for an entire nation. The pattern is clear. The world mislabels you while heaven conceals you. The world measures you by appearances, but heaven measures you by assignment. The weapon within you is never obvious until the moment of unveiling. And here is the mystery. The delay is intentional. God hides his weapons not because they are unworthy, but because they are too valuable to be exposed prematurely. He covers them in wilderness, wraps them in silence, allows them to be underestimated, overlooked, even despised, until the hour comes when their manifestation cannot be denied. So, chosen one, do not despise your hiding place. Do not curse the seasons of waiting. Do not confuse silence for absence. Every prison you have endured, every wilderness you have walked, every night you thought heaven forgot you, they were all part of the concealment. Because a weapon revealed too early can be stolen, but a weapon revealed in God's timing cannot be stopped. You are following the same pattern. What looked like weakness, betrayal, or delay in your life is not punishment. It is preparation. The weapon is already inside you, concealed, refined, waiting for its appointed hour. And when it is unveiled, just like Samson, Abraham, Joseph, the world will finally see what heaven always knew. You were never ordinary. You were always a weapon. Your struggles, your triumphs, your failures, they are not random. They are not wasted. They are the raw materials. Every tear you've cried, every door that closed, every betrayal that cut deep, heaven has been collecting them, not as reminders of pain, but as ingredients of purpose. Just as an architect designs a temple stone by stone, carefully selecting and chiseling each piece until it fits into the master plan, so is God shaping your life into a dwelling place for his glory. What felt like breaking was building. What felt like delay was design. What felt like loss was a hidden gain, concealed until the fullness of time. Think of a tree, majestic, towering, stretching its branches into the heavens. Yet before it could ever display its beauty, it was first a buried seed. Buried in darkness, in silence, in a place where no one could applaud its growth. But the silence was not death, it was preparation. The seed broke, split open, and from that breaking came life. Do you see it, chosen one? The roots always grow downward before the branches grow upward. The hidden work always precedes the visible glory. Could it be that the pain you feel now is simply the rooting process before your emergence? Could it be that the very soil that feels heavy on top of you is the covering that protects you until you're strong enough to rise? Could it be that your current obscurity is actually your sanctuary, where heaven is guarding your potential until the appointed moment? Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven." That means your delays are not denials. they are timings. Your waiting is not punishment, it is preparation. Just as winter protects the seed and spring awakens it, your life has been under the hand of a divine calendar. Joseph's prison was a seedbed for his palace. David's shepherd's field was a seedbed for his throne. Esther's hidden years in the palace were a seedbed for her deliverance of Israel. And you, yes, you, are being rooted. Every hidden season, every quiet obedience, every unseen sacrifice is pressing your roots deeper so that when the storm comes, you will not topple. You will stand unshaken because your roots are anchored in God. Chosen one, your season of emergence is near. You will not stay buried forever. The time is coming when the soil that is pressed down on you will break open. The same darkness that once hid you will become the backdrop of your unveiling. The same pain that once threatened to destroy you will become the very proof of your strength. Hear me. What has been growing in secret is about to be revealed in power. What has been cultivated in silence is about to speak loudly. What has been whispered in your heart is about to thunder in the earth. Your emergence is not just for you. When a tree rises, it gives shade to the weary, fruit to the hungry, and shelter to the vulnerable. Likewise, your rising will be nourishment to others. Your testimony will become food for those starving for hope. Your breakthrough will become shelter for those battling storms. Your weapon will not only defend you, it will deliver many. So do not despise the dark soil. Do not despise the lonely nights. Do not despise the seasons when no one saw your growth. For without them, there would be no roots, and without roots, there would be no rise. Chosen one, the season of emergence is not just near. It is at the door. Heaven is stirring. The ground is shifting. And soon, what has been concealed will be revealed. But beware, chosen one. The enemy has always feared what is hidden inside you. He has always launched his fiercest attacks, not against your present, but against your potential. Why do you think you've been through such unusual warfare? Why do you think your life has carried battles that seem too heavy for you? It is because the adversary sees what you cannot yet fully see. The weapon, the anointing, the divine force concealed inside you. Look through Scripture, and you'll see the same pattern. Judas betrayed Jesus, not because he hadn't seen miracles, not because he didn't witness blind eyes opening or the dead raised, but because he could not perceive the divine plan. He mistook divinity for weakness. He traded eternity for silver because the mystery was hidden from his eyes. Pharaoh hardened his heart, even as plague after plague testified of heaven's power. His pride was so blinding that he could not bow, and that blindness led to his destruction in the Red Sea. Pride always resists the revelation of God, but no pride can withstand the weight of God's plan. Goliath mocked David, blind to the anointing wrapped inside a shepherd boy. He saw a sling. He saw weakness. He saw someone unqualified. But what he did not see was the covenant oil that had already marked David for victory. Goliath thought he was mocking a boy. In truth, he was mocking the God who had chosen him. And that blindness cost him his head. Do you see the pattern? Distractions, betrayal, temptation, lies. They are all weapons of blindness. The enemy knows he cannot remove what God has placed within you, so he fights to keep you from recognizing it. He hopes to exhaust you, confuse you, tempt you, and distract you until you give up on your own destiny. But hear me, chosen one, no betrayal can cancel what God has ordained. No distraction can uproot what God has planted. No lie can silence what heaven has decreed. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in a prison, but none of it canceled the dream. Instead, it positioned him for the palace. What was meant to bury him only became the road that lifted him. Genesis 50 verse 20 declares it. What you meant for evil, God turned it for good. Daniel was betrayed by jealous rivals, thrown into a den of lions, but the lions became pillows for his peace. Why? Because his weapon wasn't his fists, but his faith. And when the morning came, his accusers were destroyed by the very trap they had set for him. Even Jesus, the greatest betrayal in history, sealed with a kiss, could not stop the cross. And the cross itself could not stop the resurrection. The betrayal only pushed the prophecy into fulfillment. So I declare over you, every betrayal you have endured, every lie spoken against you, every distraction the enemy has thrown your way, it is fuel for your weapon. What the enemy thought would break you will build you. What he thought would silence you will amplify you. What he thought would end you will launch you. The enemy fears your awakening. He fears the day you realize that the very thing sent to destroy you were actually sharpening your weapon. Like fire purifies gold, like pressure forms diamonds, like storms deepen roots. Every trial has been perfecting what God placed inside you. You're not fragile. You are fortified. You are not defeated. You are destined. You are not overlooked. You are overcomer. And soon, the enemy who mocked you, like Pharaoh, like Goliath, like Judas, will see what they could not recognize before. The weapon inside you is alive. It is awake, and it cannot be stopped. Amos 3:7 declares, "Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants the prophets." Do you hear the weight of that, chosen one? God does nothing, nothing in history, nothing in creation, nothing in judgment, nothing in revival, without first pulling back the veil for those who are close to him. Revelation is not random. It is relational. It is not scattered like crumbs for the curious. It is whispered like secrets to a friend. The Lord does not reveal to satisfy human curiosity. He reveals to deepen covenant intimacy. Look through history and you'll see the pattern. He whispered to Noah before the flood, when the whole earth mocked him for building an ark in the middle of dry ground. They saw foolishness, but Noah walked so closely with God that he heard heaven's warning. And because he heard, his family was preserved while the world perished. He revealed his plan to Moses before the plagues. Long before Egypt trembled, long before the Red Sea opened, God stood in the wilderness and showed Moses a glimpse of his power through a burning bush. He trusted Moses with his voice because intimacy always precedes impact. He spoke to Daniel in Babylon, giving him visions of empires rising and falling, of kings and kingdoms that would shape the future of the world. Daniel was not just an interpreter of dreams. He was a friend of God's secrets. And because of that intimacy, God entrusted him with the blueprint of history before it unfolded. And now, chosen one, he is revealing his plan to you, not because you demanded answers, not because you stumbled into this moment by chance, not because of mere curiosity. No, he is speaking because he trusts you with intimacy. He has seen your tears in the night, your prayers whispered in the silence, your faith that refused to die even in the darkest season. You may not feel like a prophet, but intimacy qualifies you more than titles ever will. Abraham was not called a prophet by men, but God called him his friend. And before judgment fell on Sodom, the Lord himself said in Genesis 18 verse 17, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do?" Why? Because Abraham was not just a servant. He was a companion of God's heart. Do you realize what that means for you? When God reveals something to you, when He places an unshakable knowing in your spirit, when He nudges you with divine awareness, when He shows you glimpses of what is to come, it is not just information. It is invitation. Invitation to draw nearer. Invitation to align yourself with heaven's movement. Invitation to prepare before the storm, to act before the season shifts, to position yourself before the world even knows what's happening. Revelation is proof of relationship. It is God saying, I cannot keep this from you any longer. You have walked closely enough, faithfully enough, long enough that I now trust you with what I am about to do. Think about that. The creator of the universe, the one who spoke galaxies into existence, chooses not to act in the earth without first whispering to those who love Him. That's how much He values intimacy. That's how much He values you. Chosen one, this moment you are in, this message you are hearing, it is not entertainment. It is evidence. It is God confirming that you are in His inner circle, that He has counted you faithful, that He is now pulling back the curtain and saying, come closer. I want to show you what I am about to do. And when God reveals something to you, it is both privilege and responsibility. Privilege because you're chosen to hear. Responsibility because now you must respond. Noah built the ark. Moses stood before Pharaoh. Daniel prayed and interceded. Abraham negotiated with heaven. Revelation always requires action. So do not dismiss what you feel stirring in your spirit right now. Do not scroll past the divine whisper in your soul. Do not tell yourself, this is just coincidence. No, this is covenant. Heaven has marked you for intimacy, and the weapon inside of you is awakening because God trusts you with His secrets. The question is, will you stay close enough to hear the next whisper? Einstein once said, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. And chosen one, do you not see? You're that mystery. You are the riddle the world cannot solve. The vessel that carries something heaven-breathed, something eternal, something that cannot be explained by flesh and blood. You're not here by accident. You're not just another name on the earth. You are living evidence that the unseen realm is real. You are the whisper of eternity clothed in mortal skin. You are the vessel of divine weaponry, forged not in time, but before time itself. Psalm 25 verse 14 declares, the secret of the Lord is with those who fear Him, and He will show them His covenant. This means the weapon inside you is not given to the careless. It is not handed out cheaply. It is not discovered by those who live casually. No, the secret of the Lord belongs to those who revere Him, those who tremble at His presence, those who have bowed in hidden places where no one else was watching. The weapon within you is holy, is sacred. It is not of this world. Think of it. Your weapon is not forged in applause. It is forged in silence. It is not revealed in crowds. It is birthed in caves. David received his weapon on the backside of a field, alone with sheep, a sling, and songs no one else heard. Moses received his weapon not in Pharaoh's palace, but in the wilderness before a burning bush. Elijah carried his weapon to Mount Carmel, but first he had to learn to hear God's voice not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in the still small whisper. Chosen one, your weapon is not for the faint of heart. It is for the faithful, for those who endured the wilderness when others gave up, for those who pressed through betrayal when others turned bitter, for those who stood firm when the storm came, when the waves roared, when the fire burned hot, but still they refused to bow. Remember Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? The fire could not consume them because their weapon was not flesh but faith. Remember Daniel? The lions could not devour him because his weapon was not might but prayer. Remember Stephen? The stones could not silence him because his weapon was not fear but vision, his eyes fixed on heaven as he saw the Son of Man standing. The world will never understand your weapon. They will laugh. They will mock. They will minimize. They will say, "What do you have in your hand?" It's nothing. But heaven sees differently. A staff in Moses' hand looks ordinary until it parts a sea. A sling in David's hand looks foolish until it topples a giant. A jar of oil in a widow's home looks small until it fills vessels without end. 5 loaves and 2 fish in a boy's basket look insignificant until they feed thousands. So do not despise your weapon. Do not doubt what God has hidden inside you. Do not let the enemy convince you that your little is not enough. For when heaven breathes upon it, your little becomes much. Your weapon is not for display. It is for destiny. It is not to make your name great. It is to exalt the name above all names. It is not for entertainment. It is for eternity. And hear this. The reason you have been pressed, crushed, tested, and refined is because the weapon you carry is dangerous to hell. The enemy has always feared what you carry. Why else would you have endured such battles? Why else would the attack against your life feel relentless? Why else would doors close, people betray, seasons grow heavy? Because Satan knows something about you, something you often forget. He knows that when you rise in faith, when you speak with boldness, when you walk in obedience, the kingdom of darkness trembles. That is why the warfare has been so intense. That is why the trials have been so heavy. That is why the silence of God felt deafening at times, because heaven was sharpening your weapon in secret. Chosen one, do not lay it down. Do not abandon it. Do not despise it. For the same God who entrusted it to you is the same God who will use it through you. And when the moment comes, when heaven declares that the appointed time has arrived, you will see what looked ordinary become extraordinary. You will see what felt small move mountains. You will see what seemed hidden shake nations. Because your weapon is not fleshly. It is not carnal. It is not of this world. It is eternal. It is divine. It is yours. And it will not fail. This is not information. This is invitation. God is not giving you trivia to impress your mind. He is extending his hand to transform your life. He is saying, "Come closer. Lean in. Walk with me. I want to show you what I am about to do." This is the moment where heaven pulls back the curtain. This is the veil being torn away. This is when the fog begins to lift, and what once seemed blurry now sharpens into clarity. The puzzle pieces you never understood are beginning to align. The tears you cried in secret now begin to make sense. The nights you thought were wasted were actually nights of planting. The storms that almost broke you were actually winds that carried you closer to destiny. Chosen one, hear this. Your pain was not punishment. The enemy wanted you to think God had abandoned you. But no, your pain was training. It was sharpening. It was pressing you into the shape heaven intended. Your delays were not denial. They were divine timing. If you had stepped into the promise too early, it would have crushed you. If the doors had opened before the season was ripe, you would not have been ready to hold them. But God, in his mercy, made you wait, not to frustrate you, but to protect you. Your silence was not abandonment. It was strategy. When heaven goes quiet, it is not absence, it is alignment. A teacher is always silent during the test. The silence you felt was not proof that God had left, but proof that he was watching, that he was measuring your heart, that he was preparing the unveiling. Think of Joseph in prison, forgotten by men, but not by God. Think of Hannah in years of barrenness, silenced in the temple, but remembered in heaven. Think of Jesus in the tomb, silent for 3 days, but about to shake eternity. Chosen one, your silence is not your ending. It is your setup.